So this is going to be a strength session, and we're going to be using 2 times 6 kg dumbbells, as well as either a 10 or 12 kg kettlebell. And again, at any point, if the weights feel too heavy, then remember you can always alternate and take the 12 down to a 6, which obviously is a big jump, but listen to your body. It's your body, your rules. We'll start with a warm-up, body weight, then moving into the banded exercises, and then moving into the strength section, and then finishing with the core and then stretching. Make sure that you've got some water nearby, a towel if you need it, and the weights on hand. Remember to put some good music on, because I'm not adding any music to this, so that you have some ambience and a bit of a vibe to keep you motivated throughout the session. Okay, so we're going to start with the warm-up. So if you want to come to a comfortable position with your feet slightly wider than hip distance apart, we're going to start with hip rolls. We'll do a few rotations one way, and then we'll do back the other way. Beautiful. And then you're going to take your feet a little bit wider, coming into more like a goddess squat. As you come down, arms come up, and you're actively pushing the legs out so that the knees are tracking centrally with the toes. We're going to do a few more repetitions here. And all the way down. We're going to stay down nice and low, taking the right hand to the right thigh as we reach over with the left side, getting a deep stretch. But remember, we're actively pushing in, so we're nice and active through the obliques, and then staying low, coming to the other side. So again, we're pushing up, getting that nice deep stretch, being nice and active through the inside thighs, and over to the other side. And then back to center. And then 2 more times going up and down. Beautiful. And then coming back to center. Shake it out, shake it out. We're going to do some shoulder rolls, making them even bigger, getting the arms involved, nice and long all the way up. And then you're going to reverse the direction, coming all the way down, and then shake it out, shake it out. And then taking your wrists, you're going to push as if you're pushing something away, and then you're going to come back in. And then we're going to add that with a squat. So we're going to push out, and then exhale, coming back in. 3 more times. 2 more. 1 more. Beautiful, shaking out. I'm going to do a little bit of activation through the ankles, through the feet. So we're going to come up onto our toes and down, and we're going to find that lift and find that balance and find that activation. And then we're going to increase the intensity of this by adding it in with the arms. So we're going to reach up and down and up and down. 2 more times, and all the way down. Beautiful. And then shake it out. And then we're going to go into working with the band. So when you're ready, you can press pause if you need to gather things, and then get your bands for the next section. So taking your stretchy band, you're going to place it over the widest part of your feet, taking your feet about hip distance apart so you have some tension on the band. Again, tuck the tailbone, lengthen through the spine as you then lift and lower. Imagining that you have a string attached to your thigh, so you're super active through your hip flexors, through your lower abdominals, and through your quads. Beautiful. We're going to do a few more repetitions either side, so we're nice and warmed up and ready to go when we go into the weight section. Beautiful. And then you're going to take the band above the ankles, taking your feet again so they're slightly wider than hip distance apart, so you have tension on the band as you come down into a squat. Toes to heels pressing down, nice and active, going for a few more repetitions. Let's go for 4 more. Final 4 and 3 and 2 and final 1. Beautiful. And then you can shake it out, and then again keeping that tension on the band, you're going to go into the sort of being stiff like cardboard or like a penguin, through the body, so through the core, so nice and active through the glutes, through the thighs, as well as through the abdominals. So your glutes should be super firing, nice and strong. A few more repetitions either side. You should be feeling a bit warmer now. Perfect. And then shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. We're now going to go into really focusing more on the glute med. So you're going to keep the ankle, the band above the ankle, but also if that feels too intense, you can take it above the knee to reduce the intensity. So squatting down, again, so that the tailbone is tucked and ribs are in. You're going to take one foot back and then the other. So nice, small steps, sort of taking your foot to 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock as you alternate one side and then the other. Few more repetitions either side. Let's go for 2 more. And final one. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, taking the band over your wrists. So you have, my watch is slightly in the way, so I'm going to take it a little bit higher. So I'm going to take my hands out so I have tension on the band. Make sure that my ribs are in, tailbone is tucked as I lengthen through the arms without flaring the ribs, getting nice and active through the shoulders. Saying, hello body, we're going to be using these same muscles and similar movement patterns later on with the weights. And let's go for final 3 and 2 and 1. Don't forget to grab a glass of water and then we'll carry on with the weights. Okay, grabbing your 2 6 kg dumbbells, we're going to go into a split stance, a lunge position. So with my left foot forwards, I'm going to tuck my tailbone, lengthen through my spine, make sure my ribs aren't flaring. The weight is pretty central, but mostly focus over that front foot. As I inhale on the way down, exhale on the way up for 10. That's 2 and 3 and 4. Keeping a slight bend in the elbow. Final 5 and 4. Keep the core engaged. 3, final 2 and 1. Getting ready for the other side. Remember, you can pause the video at any point if you need a bit of a rest in between sides. And then moving over to the right side. So tailbone tucked, lengthen through the spine, engage through the core as I lower and lift. All the way down, almost halfway there. Remember to go at your pace, listening to your body, going for 10 either side. I'm on the final 3 and 2 and 1. Okay. Take a quick rest, grab some water if you need to, before we move on to the next exercise. We're going for a single leg Romanian deadlift, so RDL. I'm going to start on my left side. So the weight is focused on my front foot, toes to heels. I'm really gripping. The right foot is somewhat inconsequential. I'm going to try and keep my toes quite close, not far behind my ankles. Again, ribs in, tailbone tucked, and I'm imagining that I'm barging someone out the way, and then exhale as I come up with that hinge. So really focusing on that left leg. Going all the way to 10. Remember, listen to your body, go at your pace. Coming into the final 4 for me. Exhale on the way up, really gripping through the toes, but really rooted down through that front foot. Fantastic. Remember, you can pause and rest in between sets and then get ready for the other side. So I'm going to root down through the right foot. I'm going to get my left foot in position, slightly staggered behind my ankle. Again, tailbone tucked, ribs in, barging someone out the way, and then exhale as I come up. Really focusing on my right leg. Coming into those final 3 and 2 and 1. Well done. Remember, take a rest, pause the video, grab some water, grab a towel, and then I'll meet you for the row. So I'm going to take my feet so they're about hip distance apart. I'm going to sit back. Again, I want to take my head so it's in the back of the line, it's in alignment with the back of my shoulders. I'm thinking about pinching my shoulder blades together as I come up for 10 reps through the row, using that exhale, using that core activation, long spine, open chest. Remember, going at your pace, listening to your body, and feeling that connection with the breath. And doing your final one. We're going to repeat this set one more time, but again, it's your body, your rules, and if you want a slightly longer session, then you can repeat each of the sets 3 times to make the session slightly longer, but we're just going to do 2 in this video. Okay, coming into our second set. So I've got my left foot forwards, I'm going to snagger my right one back, I'm going to tuck my tailbone, lengthen through my spine, inhale on the way down, exhale as I rise up, really pressing into that front foot, going for 10 repetitions. I'm on 3, and 4, and 5, final 5. Remember, going at your pace, listening to your body, using your breath and your core to help stabilize and support you. Remember to pause this video if you need to before going to the other side. I'm going to go straight in, but remember, your body, your rules. Tucking the tailbone, lengthening through the body, rooting down through that front foot. Exhale on the way up. 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7. Final 3, final 2, and final 1. Well done. Remember to pause the video before moving to the next exercise. So it's our second set of our RDLs. So my left foot is grounding down, my right foot slightly staggered back. I'm going to tuck my tailbone, lengthen, barging someone out the way, and then exhaling with that hinge. So very long front leg, slight bend, and then driving up. Really rooting through that front foot, gripping with the toes. I'm coming into my final 4 reps, but remember you're doing 10 either side. And remember to pause the video in between exercises, otherwise go straight on to the right side. I'm going to tuck the tailbone, lengthen through the body, drawing the ribs in, rooting through the front foot. Exhale as I rise up. My back foot was slightly too far back, so I brought it forwards. And then coming in for my final 5 as I rise up, really focusing on that activation through that front foot. Final 2 and final 1. Well done. Getting ready for the row. So my feet are about hip distance apart. I'm going to tuck my tailbone, bring my ribs in, stick my bum back, arms come slightly in front, and then from here, long spine, my gaze is ahead, not down. Exhaling as I bring my elbows up nice and narrow with my body. Feeling that connection with my core and the breath, coming into the final 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. Remember, if you want to do a third set, just go back to the beginning or go back to when I first started the second round. You're going to grab your 12 kg kettlebell now, coming into a nice wide stance. The movement, again, you don't want your knees to be coming in, so I'm really pressing down from my toes to my heels. I'm imagining that I'm pushing something back behind my legs, so I'm nice and active through my thighs. And the movement will be Again, there are variations of this. You can just stay here, but if it feels available to you, you can also bring up. So I'm lightly holding the kettlebell with my fingers. My elbows are coming up. And we're doing 10 reps. I'm on 4. And I'm using the exhale, final 5. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well done. Remember to pause the video and take a rest if you need to. Into our kettlebell swings. So I'm going to have my feet slightly wider than hip distance apart. Now you can go for a double arm or a single arm, okay? So single arm would be taking the weight back and changing at the top. And again, you're gazing forwards, you're keeping your spine long. And if you're going for the double hand, same thing, but just not alternating. Keeping the gaze up and really thrusting, and thrusting the hips forwards. Going for 10 repetitions. And I'm going to go for 5, 4, 3, weights in the heels, 2, and 1. Placing the weight down safely, grab some water if you need to, before moving on to the next exercise. This one is more of a core focus, so I'm going to keep my feet pretty narrow, and it's going to be glute on the lower part and core on the upper part. So from the front it looks like this. From my toes to my heels, I'm pressing in, I'm really gripping to try and keep my knees tracking centrally. As the weight comes over, here I feel it in my glute, here it becomes more of a core. So I'm trying to counter the rotation by having my weight in my heels, and you're going for 10 reps either side. So I've got 5 more, 4, using the exhale to engage the deep abdominals. If you need to take a break, please take a break, otherwise go straight to the other side. So same thing, weight goes back, try and counter the twist, keeping your body central, coming almost halfway there. The lower you go, the harder it is. Coming in for the final 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. Well done. Have a quick rest, and then we'll repeat that circuit one more time. Okay, so we're coming in for the final time, but remember, after this circuit, if you want to have a slightly longer session, just repeat the second set one more time so that you've done each circuit 3 times rather than 2. Otherwise, this should be about 45 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to take my feet slightly wider, but not into like a full as far as I can go, but going into that nice goddess sumo squat stance with my knees pushing backwards to safely pick up the weight. And then you can stay here, but again, if it's comfortable and available to you, bringing the weight up. And I've got my fingers wrapped around the kettlebell, but they're very sort of, it's almost quite light in the grip. And coming for 10 reps. So I've got my final 3, and 2, and 1. Well done. Remember, pause the video if you need to, otherwise we'll get straight on to the next exercise. Getting ready for the kettlebell swing. So again, I'm going to go for the double hold, but you can go for the single hold. Remember, when you're picking up the weight, to think about it as a rep in itself. So always think about your form. Take the weight back, drive the hips forwards. And 3, and 4, and 5. Final 5, and 4, and 3, and 2, and final 1. Well done. Safely placing the weight down. Coming in for our final exercise for the core focus. So with our feet slightly wider than hip distance apart, bum goes back and then over the shoulder. Really grip through the toes and the heels. Make sure that your weight's nice and evenly distributed, so you're nice and stable and the knees are tracking centrally. Final 5, and 4, and 3, final 2, and final 1. Beautiful. And remember, take a rest if you need to before going to the other side. Otherwise, I'm going to go straight to the other side. Weight goes back over the shoulder. So weight's really in the heels as I drive up, but I am really gripping with the toes to keep my knees tracking centrally. I'm going to come in for my final 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. Well done. Remember, repeat the circuit if you want to. Otherwise, grab your resistance band for the core focus. So if you want to grab a medium or heavy resistance band, that will obviously determine how intense the movement will be. Again, we're going to do this circuit twice, but if you want it to be a longer session, then add another round in, okay? So I've got my heels in line with my bum is in line with the back of my shoulders and my head. So nice long line, almost imagining that I'm against a wall. My elbow is underneath my shoulder, my ribs are in, and from here you can use your hand to support you, or you can have it above you or on your hip, and I'm going to push up. Now, as you can see, this is not active. My starting position is very active. So I'm here, and then I exhale as I go up for 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. Final 4, and 3, and 2, and 1. Beautiful. And then we're going to change sides. So same setup, making sure the back of our heels are in line with our bum, and our bum is in line with our shoulders, and the back of our head, elbow is stacked underneath shoulder, and we're pushing up. So we're nice and active through the obliques, and we're either using the support of our hand or above. So finding your position. This is a core and oblique, and glute focus. So for 10, and 9, and 8, and 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well done. Take a quick rest, and then I'll meet you for the next exercise. So for the next exercise, I'm going to be on my forearms, and remember, I'm going to push into my forearms, elbows underneath shoulders, back of my head is elevated, tucking my tailbone, bringing my ribs in, making sure my knees are stacked underneath my hips, that there's tension on the band. I'm going to tuck my toes and lift my knees as I alternate one leg and then the other, keeping my gaze slightly ahead of my fingertips. I'm on 3 either side. We're going for 10. And so keeping that core engagement. Any time that you need to reset, please do. Listen to your body. You want to make sure that the form is good, that the core is engaged. Coming to the final few repetitions. Keeping that activation through the abdominals and through the pelvic floor. Very good. Reset and take any pressure off the head, neck, wrists or shoulders. So final exercise, again, is a combination of glutes as well as core. So getting that nice tailbone tuck, ribs are in, tucking the toes, back of my head in line with the back of my shoulders, lifting the knees and out for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well done. So I'm going to come back into that side plank variation with my heels stacked as well as in line with my bum and my shoulders and the back of my head. I'm actively pushing before I've even started, so my obliques are engaged. As I come up, I open out my top leg to get that nice activation through the glutes as well as the obliques. I'm coming in for my final 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and final 1 And then I'm going to swivel to the other side. And my elbow is underneath my shoulder. I'm pushing in, making sure that my alignment is there so that I'm nice and safe and stacked properly. And then when you're ready, going for that 10 repetitions on this side. And again, you can change the position of your hand depending on what feels comfortable. But remember that there's that drawing up through the lower abdominals, through the pelvic floor, and going for 10 either side. 3, 2, and 1. Well done. So I'm going to get my forearms pressing in, pushing my shoulder blades apart, tailbone is tucked. I'm activating through my core, but as you can see, I can still talk. I'm going to tuck my toes, make sure there's tension on the band before I lift, and then I'm kicking out, keeping my foot flexed. So I'm nice and stable through my core. I'm long through my spine, open through the shoulder blades, active through the core. We're going for 10 either side. I think I'm on 5, so final 5. But remember, your body, your rules, so listen to your body. You need to reset. Form is always key. Coming to the final few repetitions, and then take a rest in child's pose. And then the final exercise, long strong arms, wrists underneath shoulders, back of head in line with the back of your shoulders, gazing towards the end of your mat. Tuck the tailbone, lift the knees as you go out for 10, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And then again, resting in child's pose. For this stretching element, we're going to start in child's pose. So take your knees out nice and wide, connecting your bum and the heels of your feet. Take a deep breath in and then lengthen and soften through the front and through the back. Feeling that release through the lower back, allowing your breath to lengthen. You're going to walk your hands over to the right. You're going to lean into the left side of your body. You can have some movement if that feels good. And then walk your hands over to the left, leaning into the right side, getting that length and release through the side body. Beautiful. And then back to center and softening and lengthening. From here, you're going to come up to a kneeling position. I'm taking my right foot forwards. I'm going to tuck my tailbone, lengthen through my spine, drawing my ribs in, and actively pushing into the front of my left thigh to feel that stretch through my quad and through my psoas. On the inhale, I'm lengthening, and on the exhale, I'm releasing tension. From here, I'm going to take my weight back as I lengthen through my front foot. Now I can properly sit back on my foot, or I can keep slightly up, resting my weight on my hands. As I draw my toes towards my shins and I'm flexing my foot, I'm going to point and flex, drawing my chest a little closer to get a deeper stretch. And breathing slowly. From here, I'm going to take both hands on the inside of my right leg. I'm going to take my left leg back a bit more as I drop through the pelvis, lengthen through the arms, getting a deep stretch through the groin. From here, we keep the left foot down. I'm going to take my right hand to my right knee and gaze over my right shoulder as I open up my right hip. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. Right knee down, left foot forwards, tuck the tailbone, lengthen through the body, sort of pushing forwards into the front of my right thigh, keeping my body nice and long, ribs in, because if I flare, I don't get the stretch, so I have to keep my spine stacked, pushing into the front of that thigh, lengthening each breath, trying to release tension out of the body. And then I'm going to take my weight back. Again, it's back, but then slightly forwards as I sort of lean into my hands, drawing my toes towards my shins as I point and flex, releasing tension through the back of my legs. Keeping that hinge, so I'm not rounding, I'm still sort of active through my torso. And then from here, placing the left foot down, hands on the inside, staggering my right knee back, getting a deep stretch through the groin. Long, strong arms, proud chest. Right hand takes the weight as the left hand opens out through the left hip, gazing over left shoulder. Beautiful. From here, we're going to make our way back up to standing safely. Now, you can find something to hold on to support you as you come into the figure of four stretch. So you can imagine you're holding something in front of you. I'll use the stool. And I'm going to take one foot over and I'm going to sit back into my imaginary chair, drawing my chest close to my legs will deepen the stretch. And again, I'm inhaling, lengthening, exhaling, releasing tension out of the body. Remember to linger longer in any of the stretches at any point. And then changing sides, really getting that deep release through the glutes. Breathing, lengthening, slowing the heart rate, releasing tension out of the body. And then I'm going to release some tension through the inside of the thighs. So I'm going to come into a wide stance, sitting into almost like a side lunge. And as I bring my weight forwards, I get a deep stretch through the inside of my legs. Now you can do this in a seated position as well. But if you're standing, you can do it this way and again. So for seated, you can go like this and you can lean into it. You can also do it kneeling. So I'm now more, my weight is back and I'm going to bring it forwards and I'm still getting a stretch here. So if I do it on the other side, same thing. If I bring my weight forwards, I'm getting a deep stretch and a deep pull on the inside of my legs. And then you can either do this next bit seated or standing. I'm going to do it sideways so you can see. So I'm going to tuck my chin to my chest. I'm going to reach my hands forward, send my back back. Deep stretch through my shoulders and my neck as I restack my vertebra one at a time. And again, curving, but I'm pulling my body backwards and I'm pulling my body forwards, keeping that tension, keeping that stretch as I rebuild my spine one vertebra at a time. And then I'm going to take one hand over the shoulder, one hand over the other shoulder, and then one hand over the head, and then one hand over the head. Thank you so much.